Right, I am live. Hi everyone, good morning. Today, I'm actually going to be continuing from my investigation into context engineering with Claude Code from yesterday. So yesterday, if you didn't know, I basically created a few new commands using Claude Code, the research command, which output this research notes. And this research note is basically to do research on implementing a feature in my application, Claude Maestro. Let me just run it here. Run dev. Yeah. Claude Maestro is right here. Basically, I want the ability to switch Claude Maestro to use different models, not just Claude Code models, but models such as GLM 4.5 and DeepSeek. Obviously, this is running on Claude Code SDK. It's actually pretty easy to switch the models in terms of using different models like GLM 4.5 and DeepSeek with Claude Code SDK, because you can actually now set environment variables right in the Claude SDK. So if I just go to Claude SDK Manager, and if we just look at the documentation but the types defined here in the Claude Code SDK, you can see that there's an environment options, environment field inside the option type now. I don't know when they added this, but I think it's pretty recent, which is really awesome. They also added a bunch of other things like hooks in here. This SDK is getting crazy, guys. Like, this is actually legit, getting pretty awesome. Okay, now let's see, where was I? I was going through my research notes. So, my research command, which is here. And then what I did after I had my research, where is the research? Okay, after I have this research notes that command generated, then I would pass this into my create plan command. And inside this create plan command, I actually modified it from yesterday. And the new modification I made, let me show you the kind of like the architecture I have in my head when I am using my, this is the workflow I am now experimenting with. It's basically allowing me to split up the context even more. And the reason why I split up the context quite a few times or clear the context quite a few times is because I want to use as little of the context as possible to get the best result. So right now, research command generates research notes.md file. That research note goes into create plan. Now, instead of creating one single plan, I am now having the create plan command generate three separate commands. I'm having the create plan command generate three separate plans. And these three separate plans are kind of complete on their own, as in like they implement sub-feature of whatever this feature is going to be. And I'm going to show you that in a bit. Once it will generate as many plans as needed in order to complete like the feature. However, instead of implementing all these plans in parallel, I am now implementing them one at a time. And so then I would use my implement command, implement the first plan, and then I would clear the context. And during this process, I would before I actually implement, I would review this plan meticulously. Like, I literally would go in one by one and change them if I need to. And I actually did that previous to coming live here, and I'll show you that in a bit. But once I put these plan into my implement command, then the plan is going to be implemented. I will then check. At this point, I will check whether the plan was implemented correctly, and if there's any issues, then I can correct it there as well. And then I would move on by clearing the context and then implement my plan 2, clearing the context again, implement plan 3. And these are like, if you think of it, it's more like ability to checkpoint myself. And also, rather than implementing a huge or extremely large plan all at once, it's broken up into sizable chunk, like manageable chunks instead. Because, you know, like some features are extremely large and touches multiple parts of the code base, rather than just having everything being touched and then realizing, oh crap, everything went wrong at the end. This is just a way for me to like, okay, validate, is this first part working? Okay, if it's worked, let's move on to the next part. And then if the second part is working, let's move on to the last part, you know. Okay, let's now take a look at how this is all set up. So this is my new create plan.md file. Let me open this. Can I? New create. So basically I'm passing it the research node, having it understand the research node clearly before, and then I ask it to create multiple plan files for large features. But hopefully it would know that if it's a small feature, then it doesn't need to create multiple plan files. And then within each plan, I don't want it to make any assumption or speculation. So this is like, I don't know if you guys find this, but like sometimes at the end of the plan, it will be like, oh, future recommended feature. I don't like that section. I don't even want it to add that section. And I especially do not want it to like write, oh, add this feature, and doesn't actually detail out all the steps to actually implement that feature. And then each plan must include relevant resources. So the code snippet links research notes that was referenced inside the research notes that I passed into it. Specific implementation instructions without assumption. Exact code to be implemented. So this is very, very important because I want to see what exactly it's thinking. And I can review the code inside a markdown file before actually having it implemented. Before adding the plan, verify functionality doesn't already exist in the code base. This is also important because sometimes it does write duplicate code, and this is just to minimize that happening. Obviously, it still happens, but can't really do much more than this. And then this is just a file organization thing. Instead of creating one single plan like this before, now I have to create a new folder. And in this folder, there's part 1, 2, 3, 4 of the plan that actually builds up into this feature. Okay. Now, if I've already thoroughly looked at these plans, so now we can actually go ahead and implement parts of this plan. So we can see that this first part is just implementing the secure store layer for API keys using Electron Safe Storage API and Electron Store. The foundational layer will handle encryption, persistence, and retrieval of sensitive API configuration. Yeah. The part 2 is dealing with the settings UI components. So basically, users can input JLM 4.5 and DeepSeek API key as well as base URL in order to enable those models to be able to use those models with Claude Maestro. And then the third part is the SDK integration, and this is where we actually make changes to the Claude Code SDK, where we're calling Claude Code SDK. And the bulk of it is just right here. The query options, we add the query options environment, as I showed you earlier. We are adding the we're overriding Anthropic auth token and Anthropic base URL. And then we're passing this straight into the query right here. And that's going to allow us to use Claude Code SDK with JLM 4.5 as well as DeepSeek 3.1. Okay, that's that. Let's go ahead and just implement this then. Clear And I am actually going to first just double check this. What is going on here? I updated the Claude Code SDK. They've made some really great changes lately. Also, I don't know if you've noticed, if you write think very hard, there's this thinking on Macs now, which is crazy. I've never seen this before. Think is low, think hard is medium, and think very hard is max. I like how they changed the color of the text too. It's like very, very cool. All right, let's go. Okay, I'm going to add plans for third-party models. Okay, sync, and I'm gonna do is I am gonna go back here. I'm gonna go Claude Code, and I'm gonna use my implement command, pass in the 210 third-party model part 1, and let's go ahead and implement that. We'll see how good this way of working is, because I could not one-shot this feature before. I mean, I could barely call this one-shot, considering how long it took me to actually review each of these markdown files and actually make changes to them. Because I would be like, oh, why does this even exist? Why did you add this? We already have this. It's like coding, but not coding at the same time. Yeah, very interesting. While that's doing that, let's go and look at OpenAI released a new model. Again, GPT-5 Codex, I believe. I wonder if I can just, ghosty. And I'm just going to, pretty sure I already installed, but Codex / models. Huh, weird. I wonder how you would go about using this. Today we're releasing GPT-5 Codex, a version of GPT-5 further optimized for agentic coding in Codex. GPT-5 Codex was trained with a focus on real-world software engineering work. It's equally proficient at quick interactive sessions and at independently powering through long, complex tasks. Its code review capabilities can catch critical bugs before they ship. I feel like they say this every single time a new model release. It's just like, I'm not surprised anymore. GPT-5 is available everywhere you use Codex. It's the default for cloud task and code review, and developers can choose to use it for local tasks via Codex CLI and the IDE extension. Really? Okay, let's go back here, and I'm gonna open up OpenAI Codex. Ugh, I'm not even gonna. Yeah, but where do you choose the model? Every single time I use this, I get confused. Codex settings, Codex settings, open GPT-5 Codex. I don't even know if this is that, or is it under the GPT-5 name? Have anyone used this? Because, like, you can't even specify it on here. Obviously, I can't ask the model what model you are because it doesn't work. Read docs. Is there / commands in here? Or is it at? Nope. Ghosty. Did I not update codex CLI? Let's see. Codex version. Let's see what codex CLI version. What version is it at currently? It is at 0.36. I am on the latest version. And codex / model. Yeah, this only it doesn't say that it's using the GPT-5 codex. That's really annoying. Extremely annoying, actually. Okay, since we first launched Codex CLI in April and Codex Web in May, Codex has steadily, okay, yeah, blah, 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 blah. You know what? Is there like a Codex 5? Yeah, I don't care. I just want to use it and try it out. This is the annoying thing is Codex CLI. Okay, so Codex CLI, blah, 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 blah. Okay. The terminal UI has also been upgraded. Tool calls diff. Yes, clearly it has been upgraded pretty well. And check out Codex Quick Start here. Okay, Codex meets you. Okay, Codex IDE extension brings Codex agent into. Yes, so that. Did they VS Code cursor? Wow, they didn't even mention windsurf. Lol. When you use Codex in your IDE, you can write shorter prompts and get faster results because Codex can use context like the files you've opened or code you've selected. Codex IDE extension also lets you move work smoothly between the cloud and your local environment. Yes. Okay, this is just like explaining what Codex does, but oh my gosh. Pricing and availability, Codex. But I want to know GPT-5 Codex though. What's GPT-5 Codex? Use GPT-5 Codex. GPT-5 Codex is a game changer. Oh, here we go. The hype train is back. Everyone is going to be like, GPT-5 Codex, the Claude Code killer, the everything killer. I just know there's gonna be a bunch of videos saying that for sure. It's like the honeymoon period. Every model comes out and they have like a honeymoon period where everyone's like super hyped up and then like 2 days later everyone hates on it. It's crazy. OpenAI released a new model today, GPT-5 Codex. Oh my gosh. My dog is snoring. Okay. I say half release because it's not yet available via API, but they plan to make GPT-5 Codex available in API soon. I wrote about the confusing array of OpenAI products that share the name Codex a few months ago. This new model adds yet another, though at least GPT-5 Codex is ambiguous. The naming is really rough here. At this point, it's best to think of Codex as OpenAI's brand name for their coding family of models and tools. Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. Codex Cloud also has a new feature. You can configure it to automatically run code review against yes. Specifically trained for code review. Yes. OpenAI report Codex crunching 7 hours in some case. Yeah, I like to try running Codex for 7 hours and see if it actually gets decent result. The longer agents run, the more chances it has to completely mess up, I feel like. Okay. I'm glad that we have stuff to do while Claude Code is working. because else this would be really boring. Perfect. I've successfully implemented this part. Great. Let's go ahead and quickly review the changes that Claude Code has made here. Register API, register correct. This is in the index electron, so it is being initialized right here. Great. And now we have API key IPC, and this is just going to register okay. I mean, I already looked through the code here, so I don't, whoa, what is happening here? Give me one moment. Okay, let's see. Why is this not? Property get does not exist on type electron store config record. API key store. Okay. I'm just gonna go ahead and clear this context, and I am just going to do this and paste it in here. Let's see if it can fix this. Should be a simple fix, so it can just be done with all of this. This is the issue with electron store v3 changes API. The type store no longer directly expose get set method when using TypeScript generics. Instead, we need to access store data differently. Well, it certainly did not store.store. I think it just went rogue on me now. I need to, okay. At least it's going to the documentation and checking. You know, I should check the documentation as well. Electron store simple persistent data for your Electron app module. In fact, save API key, encrypted config. I bet it's going to be something to do with like how my project is configured, because I think I had issue with using Electron Store package previously as well. Well, while that's doing that, and I'm hoping it will correct it. Let's continue reading the article. Let's see. Codex Cloud also has a new feature. You can configure it to automatically run code review. Yeah. Okay, specifically trained code review, adapt. GPT-5 Codex adapts how much time it spends thinking more dynamically based on the complexity of the task. All right, okay, increased score on proprietary code refactoring evaluations. GPT-5 Codex also shows significant improvement in human preference evaluations when creating mobile websites. Okay, in the past, I habitually prompted models to make it mobile friendly. All right, true. I mean, even with Claude Code, it's kind of annoying to make sure that websites work on mobile as well. We find comments. Okay. Yeah. That doesn't even look correct at all. Right. Okay. I mean, I guess like the default model that's being used now in here for the high reasoning effort is just, or anything that's done through OpenAI Codex is just GPT-5 Codex now. Though it doesn't say that, which is kind of annoying, but whatever. Wow, it's really trying to cheat here using any. Oh, wow. I don't know if this is going to work. I think I just need to not use Electron Store here. Even though it would be not, it would, API key store. This is deprecated. I need to make sure it updates this. Is it going rogue on me? What's happening? Okay, makes some changes there. Okay, issues fixed. Yikes. How did it fix the issue? Oh, certainly it worked. I have no idea what did it do? Oh, it changed this to any. Oof. Yikes. That's not the best way to do this. I don't think there's a great way to do this, but for now, let's issue fix Electron Store by using any for store instance due to ESM module type compatibility issues. Yeah, that's the issue here. That is the main issue that I was having. I wonder if it would be better just to not use Electron Store and roll my own. I think that might be better because this is just not working. That's just not working. Also, this is all deprecated. Let's go back to the plan. So let's go back to the secure storage here. And then Electron Safe Store, Electron Store. Okay. I'm gonna close Claude Code, clear context, and I'm going to ask it to Electron Store does not work in my project because ESM because of something to do with ESM. However, so think very hard about an alternative solution. And I'm going to actually revert all this. Discard changes. Discard. Goodbye. Okay. I'm gonna go back here and highlight this again. Electron does not work because of something to do with ES module. So think very hard about an alternative solution and what did I do? And make changes to the plan here. One sec. Okay. I think let's try this first and see if it works. Because basically this does not work in my project right now. Just not something that is going to work, unfortunately. Okay, so it's just going to use custom JSON storage. That's totally fine with me. As long as it knows where those files are being stored. And then it's already being encrypted, so that's totally fine as well. Save storage, get encryption key, right. Encrypt.toString, yeah. Wonderful, that's totally fine. This is totally fine with me. I don't know if, I think that's fine. I feel like Codex just doesn't have as much control over like all this planning stuff as Claude Code does. I guess I can have, I don't think Codex has like commands or agents. At least I haven't looked into it far enough. Or maybe it does, I just don't know. Okay, did it finish? Okay. Custom storage, use Node.js file system module directly to read-write JSON files, avoid ESM issue. Okay, stores encrypted data in API key store, secure.json in JSON. Okay, Electron user data directory security still uses Electron safe storage API encryption with restrictive file permissions. Okay, recovery handle corrupted files by starting fresh. The solution maintains the same API interface and security level while avoiding Electron store ESM compatibility problem. Wonderful. Okay, I'm gonna review this really quickly. Also, URL and date time is deprecated in Zod. So I'm going to write clear URL and date time is deprecated when used like this. Update it so that it works with the latest version of Zod. Do take a look at the online documentation. documentation before thinking very hard. And is it think very hard before modifying the plan? Okay, let's go Claude Code. This should theoretically work if I am correct. Okay. Oh my gosh. Do I dare to read this hype post? So today I had some simple bugs regarding electron rendering and JSON generation with codecs. Wait, what? I had some simple bugs regarding electron rendering and JSON generation that codecs wasn't able to figure out 3 weeks ago. I had asked it 10 separate times. Okay, when I tried the new version today, it one-shotted the problem and actually listened to my instructions on how to fix the problem. I've seen the post circling around how the Anthropic CEO said 90% of code will be AI generated, and I think, oh my god, yeah, that, Okay, what did Sam post? GPT-5 is here, Codex is here. A version of GPT-5 better at agentic coding. It is faster, smarter, and new capabilities. Let us know what you think. Okay, yeah, but is it better than Opus 4.1? That's what I want to know. But I think it might be too soon for artificial analysis. I don't think this is GPT-5 Codex would be here yet. Though this doesn't mean anything. I swear, like coding index, you can see that GPT-5 High is supposed to be better than Claude 4.1 Opus, but in reality it is not, which is kind of very frustrating when the benchmark says different. And for example, GLM 4.5 is all the way down here. It actually from my testing, it actually performs better than DeepSeek 3.1, which is also very interesting. I don't know. I feel like I can never trust these benchmarks, and maybe that's because I feel like I need to try these models out for myself rather than just going with what everyone else says. Okay, updated string to z.url and z.iso, date time, correct. These are correct changes. Ooh, right. Let me just go ahead and, whoa. These needs to be discarded. And I think that's pretty much local store API key, save store, existing config, this data, okay. This is probably not the most optimal, but it will do. Okay. Update third party model part 1. All right, now time to actually implement this plan. Let's go ahead and use the implement command again. So implement, /implement 210 third party part 1. Where's part 1? Part 1. Let's go. All right. I have high hopes for this. Hopefully this time it will just work nicely and not fail. Yeah, I do feel like this way of working might actually be better. I feel more confident when I have the ability. Oh my gosh, my dog is snoring so loud. Um, I I do feel more confident when I have ability to review parts of each plan rather than having one gigantic plan that's like 1,000 lines long, break it up into like small 300 lines plan files that is more manageable for me to like look at and think through, and it's like self-contained plan. So like I know that if this part 1 is implemented, I can go in and double check that everything is working correctly rather than like making all the changes all at once, and it's just like all over the place, extremely hard to track and figure out what has changed, what's broken, what's not broken, and what I want to change is too much. It's too much for my brain to handle, at least. And also, this allows for much better context engineering and management throughout the whole implementation process. Yes, is a lot more hand-holding, but did any of us really like think that AI could just one-shot a big feature? Other than OpenAI, because they clearly ran the AI agent for 7 hours on a task, whatever that task was. I'm very curious on what kind of task it made the agent run. I'm sure it's probably like some kind of code review or something in the code base. And they're like, oh, we ran it for 7 hours. Yeah, what did it do? Nothing except came back with a report. Yeah, I'm sure. Oh my gosh, wait. All right, okay. Let's see what else is here. Oh yeah, I was reading this How to Fix Your Context article as well. This was really interesting. So then RAG, RAG, a way to fix your context, tool loadouts. Tool is the act of selecting only relevant tool definitions and add it to your context. That makes sense. Okay, and then there's the context quarantine. What is context quarantine? Is the act of isolating context in their own dedicated threads, each used separately by one or more LLMs. Okay, that's kind of what I'm doing right now. Context pruning, the act of removing irrelevant or otherwise unneeded information from context. I guess the way I could do this would be if I really, really had to, I will, after this plan has been generated, I could output like a progress MD file that then I passed into along with generated plan. Wait, why does it, sorry, this is the wrong way around. This should be like this. It should be, wow, this is generated plan needs to go into here like that. And you know what, I'm just gonna make sure like this is good. Grab this, delete this, paste this here, and paste this here. So basically I pass the generate plan. So then technically this could output like a progress or MD telling what changes was made and what steps Claude Code went through to get here, and then I pass that again along with the generated plan into the implement command, so then it has all the context from relevant past work. But I feel like that's just a lot more like work for now. I think really where it's going to be the most useful is probably going to be either in the create plan phase or research phase, because I think the implement phase should be, or like each of these plans should already contain all the details, everything that's needed to make sure that the implementation is successful. Okay, let's see where we're at. Okay, I'm still okay here. Okay, context pruning. Yep. Context summarization. I guess that's what I was just saying. Boiling down an accrued context into a condensed summary. I feel like the more models say they support 1 million plus token context doesn't mean anything if it doesn't actually is actually able to utilize all the context. Specifically if it's not very good at understanding the whole context. But again, if the context contains terrible data, then it's not exactly helpful to the model either way. Context offloading. What is this? It's the act of storing information outside the LLM, usually via tool call. I see. So I guess I feel like this is just the same as RAG, is it not? Oh no, I guess RAG is different, but this would be having it summarize periodically what is done into a markdown file, like an external memory or something. Simple, you don't believe it'll work. Again, Anthropic has a good write-up of this technique. Ooh, I might need to check that out, which details their Think tool, which is basically a scratch pad. With the Think tool, we're giving Claude the ability to include an additional thinking step, completed with its own designated space as part of getting to the final answer. This is particularly helpful when performing long chains of tool calls or in long multi-step conversation with user. Interesting. Maybe does that mean the thinking tool in Claude Code here is already using a separate context? Let me go back. Let me go back here because this is done. All right. Secure storage. Right. Let's just review the code and make sure it's fine. I feel like this is. Ooh, what did it do? Okay. What did it say here? Why did it make this change? Let me just ask. Why did you make changes to electron.veek? Why did you do that, Claude? I literally did not specify this inside. Okay, I made change because when I tried to build or run development server, I encountered error. Entry point is required in electron.veek, which can be specified. Okay, electron.veek configuration was missing explicit entry point for main and preload processes. I added build rollup options. Okay. However, looking at it now, this may seem to be unnecessary since electron.veek typically uses convention-based default for these paths. The error might have been caused by something else. Let me just try running it then. Bun run dev. Look, if it still works. And what happened if I stage this changes? Stage. No. Stash. Electron.veek config. Okay. Does this still work? Oops. Yes, so I am getting rid of that. Okay, this time it looks a lot better. Register API key, register API key IPC, right, that's good. Register the API, okay, that's fine. This is all fine. Exactly. Set default providers, get default provider, validate API key, list provider, remove API key, Get API key, save API key. All right. Store, API key store. That looks, why did it not implement? Okay. It literally did not do this correctly. Clear Zod URL and date time. Update URL and Zod date time so that it uses non-deprecated API. Shoot, I didn't select the lines. Whoops. Okay. Update Zod URL and date time to use non-deprecated deprecated API. Take a look at the documentation online and think very hard before making the change. I thought I specified this in the plan. It did not go with the plan. Man, this stream, I feel like sometimes is very, very fast. It goes by really fast because I usually just stream for an hour per day. I don't want to stream anymore because I feel like it's not very fun just watching me code. I personally don't. I don't usually talk when I code, but like when I code on stream, I have to talk, and it like takes extra brain cycles. Okay, while that's doing that, I appreciate the research and other writing Anthropic publishers, but I'm not a fan of this tool's name. If this tool were called Scratchpad, you'd know its function immediately. It's a place for the model to write down notes. Okay, you know what? I kind of want to see this think tool. I want to read more about this because I don't know whether this, when Claude Code thinks, does it like this? Like when it's thinking like this, is this all in the main context of this Claude Code session, or is this outside of the main context? If you know what I mean. That's what I really want to figure out. Because like if this is outside, that's great. But if it's inside, it's good to know as well. I feel like no one has clarified this to me, but now that I see this article, I kind of want to I really definitely want to know like what the heck is going on here. Okay, where are we at? Okay, successfully updated Zod validation. Yep, that's the run. That is correct. Nice one. Let's move on. API keys, IPC. This looks good. Index.ts. Okay. API keys, IPC. You know, I should have really created a branch. I will actually create a new branch for this so I can commit the changes step by step. It's so much better to do that than or else I don't know what I have reviewed and what has changed. This is API key IPC, IPC registry. Yep, that's fine. This looks great. Now I just need to actually, I'm gonna use git Kraken to create a new branch. But first, I actually am going to stash all these changes. So stash changes here. And I'm just gonna go, whatever, new work in progress. Seriously? Why does it do that? Why does it not stash these files? Oh my gosh, I have to. All right, whatever. Okay, now I'm going to create a new branch, and I'm going to call it third party model. Check that out. I'm going to apply stash work in progress 2 and work in progress 1, apply stash. All right, so now I should have everything back here, and it's in a new branch. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and commit this part 1. Right. Now let's go ahead and implement part 2 of this plan. This is literally probably taking way longer than it needs to. I mean, it's probably just going to take long either way. Okay, clear context, and we're going to /implement 210 third party part 2, and let's go. And this is going to implement React components for API key configuration in settings page. So I should, after this, I should be able to see it in the settings page. Theoretically, I think. I hope that's more of the word for it. Okay, let's see this thinking. This came out on March 20th, so it's been a while. As we continue to enhance Claude's complex problem-solving abilities, we discovered a particular effective approach, a think tool that creates dedicated space for structured thinking during complex tasks. This simple yet powerful technique, which, as we'll explain below, is different from Claude's new extended thinking capabilities, has resulted in remarkable improvements in Claude's agentic tool use ability. This includes following policies, making, in this post, what is the think tool? The think tool, we're giving Claude the ability to include any additional thinking step complete with its own designated space as part of getting to the final answer. So its own designated space, does that mean its own context? Can't you just say its own context? Make much more sense, but now you have confused me very much. While it sounds similar to extended thinking, it's a different concept. Extended thinking is all about Claude Code, what Claude Code does before it starts generating a response. With extended thinking, Claude deeply considers and iterates on its plan before taking action. The think tool is for Claude once it starts generating a response. Oh, interesting. To add a step to stop and think about whether it has all the information it needs to move forward. This is particularly useful when performing long chains of tool calls or in multi-step conversation with the user. Okay. I think this is... I see. I don't think it's the same thing, but maybe it is. I can't tell if it's the same thing or not. Also, why is there a big gap here? Wow. Okay, what I think is that I'm going to have to continue this again, probably later, today or tomorrow on stream, or I'm going to do this off stream, and then I'll come back and show you guys the result, whether this worked or not, because this new way of working, I literally just started doing this, yesterday, today, so I'm gonna figure this out, and maybe I'll make a video about it later if it's any good. All right, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.